Well, I got something new for you today. I guess this is sort of be like a workhorse public service announcement, little preventive maintenance thing. Because if it happened to this fellow, I'm sure it's going to happen to others. Talked to this fellow the other day. He was popping his 40 amp fuse out on the firewall. Pretty heavy duty fuse. I'll show you ours in here just a second. And in his troubleshooting, he noticed it would happen normally when he'd go to put it in gear. That's when it would pop, just kind of randomly. So he focused on the steering column, and this is the wire you see here inside the steering column. You can see where this wire had shorted out, and that was what was popping a fuse. But there was a problem because these wires had came loose and was exposed and was moving. And if it's happened to him, it may happen to us. So I'm gonna go check ours out in just a second. Let me show you a few more pictures of how he went about. Well, of course, there's your shot of the steering column before he took it apart, I guess, or maybe when he was done. Okay, and here is where the wires normally lay. You got this rolled metal, and he added some, I think he said Gorilla Tape in here to make a more smooth surface so those wires were rubbing against. Let's see what else he did. Okay, here's the guts of it all when it all disassembled, and you can see how the wires were, how they run from the factory, and how they I think when he got into it, these wires had popped out, was over. And you can see we got a mess of wires here. We got all kinds of places for wires to bend and twist. Let's see what other pictures he sent me. Okay, so I guess this is the when he got done with it. So let's go back to the other picture. Okay, so I don't know if there's, I guess that's wire loom. So he really added the wire loom to it, because I don't think that's factory, all this going up in here. So let's see what else we got. I think this is a picture he was showing. There was kind of some sharp metal in here. He went in there and cleaned that up, filed it, and made it smooth. There's another shot of it. I guess there it is, all reassembled. There's the wire he taped up, and there's a close-up shot to it. You see where it was arcing. So it was a red wire with a white stripe. And there's another shot. Oh, it's a good close-up shot. Look at that one. Alright, so it's all tucked in. Looks like he won't be popping any more fuses. Let me see if there's any more pictures. That was the last one. Alright, so now let's go out, and I'm going to pull my R40 amp fuse out and show you the symptoms of what you'll experience if this happens to you. Alright, so here we are at the RV, and this is the 40 amp fuse that popped on him. There you go, fuse. You don't want that to happen. So let's pull it out, and see how big a thing is. I'm going to show you what it acts like if that fuse ever blows on you. Okay, inside the RV, key is in, key on, and notice that total silence, absolutely nothing. We got no start, got no dash cluster, nothing at all. Also, I just ran into this for another guy. While I'm showing you this, let me show you something else. Just in case there is another fuse besides that big 40 amp. That's like the main, but there's like I've noticed this on the WorkHorse. Sometimes you'll have multiple fuses kind of control the same circuit. It kind of confuses me why they do it, but they do, because there's another fuse right here, small 5 amp fuse. And that one right there, and they call it right there instrument battery. If that fuse blows, you'll also lose your cluster. Let me think. I can't remember if you lose start function. It may still crank. Let me test that theory. Let me put the fuse back in, and then we'll test that, and then we'll get back to this issue at hand. Okay, so 40 amp fuse is back in. Alright, cluster works, and starter works. Now let's pull the fuse, because I'm curious now if this, I know it kills the cluster, but I didn't know if it killed the starter. I don't think it does. Get out there. Alright. Alright, so anyways, just so you know, this 5 amp fuse also controls the cluster. But the difference being, if you blow the 40 amp fuse, you lose everything. I think it's called ignition. You got two large fuses. You got a 40 amp for ignition A, and I think a 50 amp for ignition B. A, B, B, A. I may have it reversed, but anyways, you get the idea. All right. So anyway, that's what happened to him. He blowed his 40 amp fuse, wouldn't start, had no dash cluster. Now that'd be a bad day, wouldn't it? Imagine you pull up to a gas station and that happens to you, and you can't start. I mean, where are you going to start as far as troubleshooting? And you know, it's just a bad day all the way around. So we don't want to. I don't want to deal with that in the future. So I'm going to dissect our steering column here, see what I can find out. I do know all we need, I believe. Well, I've already took off this bottom piece. That right there, it's just Phillips screwdriver. But you will need a Torx bit. I think it's a T25. What we got here? Make sure it's here somewhere. Yep, it is T25. So T25. Get down here, take that screw out. Let's see what we can see. Now I need to fix something on mine because I got last time I got in here years ago to fix the safety switch thing. This little, where's it at? This little green switch down here was giving me troubles. Actually, it turned out to be the brake switch, but it affects this safety switch that wouldn't come out of park. I made a video on that too. If you ever can't get your gear shift out of park, you need to know what to do. Alright, so we've got this little Torx screw out. Now, normally, you're going to have two. You'll have one here and one right here. But that one's broke out on me. That's something I need to fix. And then you got this little part here to pull off. Now, I've already tugged real hard on it and got it loose because it's just a snap fit. See how it's made? So, because this is what controls our tilt wheel. So if I can get it back in there. And why you want to do this, you know, if you pull with one hand really hard, take the other hand and you get behind it and push. So between the two, it'll pop off. But it's pretty tight, so you need a good strong grip. So with that off, because that's what controls the tilt. And then if you notice, it hinges in the back. So let's get a better shot here. So it just hinges down like this. If you look closely, so you don't break nothing. See how easy it pops off. But you got this little hook right here on both sides. There's the other hook. All right, we got that. Now let's see. Let me hang on. Let me get my little shifter thing in here again. It controls the tilt. I can do this with one hand. All right, so that's what's going on. So looks like we've got some movement on those wires. I'm trying to get a better view here. Okay, so see what's happening? See how those wires move every time. And I haven't shorted out, but it's just a matter of time. I don't really like how that's doing. But you know, this is the way they built it from the factory. There's no what's that stuff called? Oh, it's wire loom, because they only put it down here, and you can see my tape is coming unraveled a little bit. So I'm assuming it was all wrapped up at one time. But we need to figure out make this a little bit better. I don't like all this movement up here up top, because I'm always using this tilt function when I get in and out of the RV. So if I was going to have movement, I'd rather have movement in this whole harness, let it wiggle up and down. But see, they got it zip tied here, so I might loosen up these zip ties. Let me cut a couple of these loose and see if we can't. Well, see, we got this other cluster. Put this back in here. See what this other wire does. See, look at how that's always twisting. That can't be good. Let's see if we can't free. I think this zip tie needs to go. That's holding this tight. That's forcing these wires to twist back and forth a lot more than I think they should be. Let me do a little cutting, give me some side cutters, and see what we can come up with. Alright, I got my zip ties cut loose. And always remember, cut your zip ties in a way like this, so that way you can reuse them for another project. Don't go chopping them off on this end and you just ruin it. So I cut that free, and I cut this one free to get a little bit more movement. Another thing I don't like how these wires are bumping into this metal bracket. So my next magic trick, I'm going to try to push this down a little bit to protect these wires down here on this metal bracket, and see if we can't dress this up a little bit better. Okay, I like this a little bit better. You can see how that's now it's set where that metal is down here in that corner. It's not touching any of the wires at all. Alright, so I like that better. And now, I need to see if we can't dress this up a little bit. Let me get my thinking cap on. Alright, so my next step, I'm going to cut this factory zip tie off, just so I can get some more movement around here, and maybe get some wire loom on it. So let's get that snapped off. This is unique. So this zip tie holds in this little piece of plastic that tucks up in behind here, just like that. So I have to get that out for now. Get it out of the way. That's how it came out. Interesting little piece. How they did that and why. Now that other fellow's looks like a lot of his wires had like dropped over, come over to the side here, and really got to digging into things. So let's, here we go. Alright. Yeah, this is the area where he laid some tape in there to protect it. But I think we get wire loom on that. We don't have to worry about that at all. Alright, so let's see if we can't dress this up a little bit better. Alright, so here's what I came up with. Now I don't know what size of wire loom I found here. I found it in my box of wire loom, of course. I don't know if it's considered 5/8, 3/4, but it was just right. I had 3/8, I had 1/2 inch, but it was too small. It wouldn't protect the wires, but that's got the wires protected really good. And I'm not going to put this plastic block back in there. I don't see the purpose in it, because the wires are not tucked down in this little slot anymore, because this wire loom's a little bit larger. And because I use that same hole, put me a zip tie in here. What I like about this design over the factory is these wires do not move. So let's try to operate this with one hand. Let's get down here where you can see it. So now we can tilt, go all the way, full tilt up and down. Those wires have no wiggle whatsoever to them. Now the wires just kind of telescope up and down along the steering column. I think that's a whole lot better design. And remember these wires back here, they pivot, but they don't pinch back and forth like there was before. I think that'll give us longer life on those wires too, because it's not twisting near as bad as they were. I kind of like it now. I just got to make sure my cover fits back on here. Let me trim this off and stick the cover on there and make sure everything works. Alright, so I don't have the screws in it yet, but it does work. Cover goes back on. Everything looks nice and smooth. I think it's going to do just fine. Alright, let me take that cover back off one more time and tidy things up the way I want it. Okay, I think I finally got it dialed in the way I want it. Down here on this lower zip tie, I kept the original zip tie even though I cut it. I just added to it. I lengthened it. I took another zip tie, and you can see where here it is. So I added to it, make it a little bit longer, and so that way it still holds the harness in place, but it allows it to move. So it slides up and down the steering column slightly. So now when we do the tilt, we're not tweaking these wires out no more. Remember how these things were flexing really bad? We had a lot of flex going on here. Now we got the entire harness itself just sliding up and down. There's no group of wires that's taking a hard pinch. I think I like this better. Don't hope you think the same, but I think it's going to work out pretty good. But I would suggest take a few minutes, pop that cover off, check your wires out, and maybe do the same, because it could keep you from being stranded somewhere bad. Now, the next little ordeal is, in case this happens to you, what's happened to my cover. So there's one mounting hole. The other mounting holes all broke out. So I've got the broken pieces here. Right there they are. So I thought about gluing those back in where they go. Some crazy glue or something. Use them just as a spacer. Get a longer screw. Gotta just find out what thread it is. And come back on this side. Where is it? Yeah. Where'd it go? There it is. Come back on this side, get a lot longer screw, and use a big washer with a tiny little hole. So that way I'll be putting pressure on the outside, and I won't risk breaking it again. This still looks good. I don't think it'll break out. So that's my plan of attack. So let me go get some glue and some screws and see how that turns out. Okay, FYI, this is some really good stuff. This Gorilla Super Glue gel. So I put that on there, I got that fixed. And I got me some screws here, try to find the right length. Then I got to track me down a washer. And boy, I got that stuff on my fingers. Now I got to get me some acetone, try to get the crud off of it. Good stuff it is, good stuff. Alright, we're getting this about ready to wrap this thing up, finally. Okay, you see my crazy glue job? That worked out pretty good, but I don't trust it to hold. Because there's a lot of force trying to hold this on there just for this little surface area. So I got a new plan. On top of that, I noticed this one, see, it's already cracking, so it's about to break out too. So instead of trusting a small washer down that little cubby hole to stay up tight, I came up with not one but two of these longer screws with a big washer and a tiny hole. Found me another one here. I took an hour digging and scratching around to find the right screws for this thing. So we got that lined up. So now I'm going to put, it may not look pretty, but it's going to be very strong. I don't have to worry about it breaking out on me. So I guess that's the next step. So let me get this cover in place. Alright, she's all bolted up. And it may not be the prettiest thing in the world, but it's good and strong. I don't have to worry about them breaking out. Got that large washer, small hole, even added a lock washer in there. And let me see if I can get my hands in here. Works really good, nothing's rubbing. And again, check out the harness, how it's going to work. Moves up and down, nice and smooth. See how the zip tie works. I just got to get this plastic on here, and it's huge, so it will have no effect. It won't touch anything. A few more screws and I'll be done. Okay, you see everything's all reassembled, just like it's supposed to be. Everything works good. See how the final result is. I like it. I like it pretty good. Now I don't have to worry about no wires being pinched in the stern column. Leave me stranded somewhere sometime. And hopefully you can check yours out and do the same, and check that plastic if it's starting to crack. You can fix it up the same way I did. Good deal. So it's kind of handy when I get to talk to other of my YouTube subscribers where they call in with problems, and so I can kind of catch trends early, like what he had. If it's going to happen to other people too. Just like starters and fuel pumps. I've learned, fuel pumps start failing from anywhere from 65 to 95,000 miles. So that's kind of a thing to keep an eye on. Fan clutches and all these different items. So I'll keep making videos. I got a lot more in the can to get edited and upload. So stay tuned. It's getting late. It's after midnight. Thanks for watching. Have a blessed day. See you. Bye.